Hi guys, welcome to another Total Waterpolo podcast. Today on the show we welcome Simone Van de Kraats. She's one of the most exciting young talents in world waterpolo at the moment, and she's fast growing into one of the most deadly and clinical goal scorers in the women's game. She was the top goal scorer at Tokyo, and we'll be hearing from her very, very shortly. But just before we start, wherever you're listening to this podcast, please give us a like, subscribe and a review if you can. It does help us connect with a large number of waterpolo lovers. And of course, don't forget to head over to www.wearwaterpolo.com and get 10% off your next kit order with our discount code podcast10. So that's podcast10. Save a little bit of money off your next team kit order and get some really high quality stash. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on the show. Let's hear the thoughts of Simone Van de Kraats. Welcome to the podcast, Simone. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just going back from training, so I'm good, thank you.
And I hear it was a tough one today. CrossFit.
Yeah, we first had CrossFit and then we had a swimming program, so it was a hard one today.
Good. Well, before we get in to talk about your career and the Olympics and stuff in Mataro, I was just scrolling through Instagram and I saw the other evening that you were out with Vivian and Maggie for a meal.
That's true.
How did that come about? And if you can give our listeners maybe a few things that you were talking about
With them?
Yeah.
It's just Maggie is also playing in Spain at Sabadell, and Vivian and Maggie play together in Hungary. So that's why they know each other, where they know each other from, and it's just nice from people abroad, players abroad, to meet each other and just get to know each other better. And where we were talking about, of course, water polo, because it's a big part of our lives, but also about chill things.
Nice. Obviously, it's such an international sport, and obviously there's a fair few players, particularly from the Dutch national team, that are in Spain. So it's probably quite nice for you to catch up and have tapas or whatever you were doing. Anyway, let's get on and talk about you maybe a bit earlier on in your life. Do you remember your first water polo memory, or do you remember how you got into the sport?
How I got into the sport, it's a traditional story, I think, from my parents. And my first memory, it's a long time ago, but I think I remember my first club, actually. It's in English, it's a little bit weird, but just gonna say it's called the Water Chicken.
Water Chicken?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then I was just playing with the ball with one of my best friends, and my father, in a later stage of my career, you can call it, was my coach, and her father was also our coach. So that's my earliest memory, I think.
I mean, I definitely think that club deserves an award for the best named club that I've heard of. Water Chickens does sound good. But from one club that's animals to another, you obviously went on to play for Polar Bears.
Yeah.
You helped them win their first title in, I think it was 8 years. You won the Dutch Cup, I think it was a year later, and the top goal scorer in both those seasons. Obviously, we're going to talk about your career since, and I know it might only be quite short, but there's a lot to talk about. What was the biggest thing you learned from playing with the Polar Bears and playing in the Dutch league?
For me, I think the biggest thing was the step from my hometown, where the club was, and moving to a bigger club was playing national and playing with experienced players in the team. I also played in the national team, and I had a good coach back then. It's still my coach, but back then it was also a good coach. So I could learn a lot from those players and from him. So for me, it was in a short amount of time, I could really improve and learn in multiple ways, in the water polo way, but also in communication and being more an adult, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's everything together.
We will talk about your transfer to Mataro probably later. But it's clear to see that obviously the Netherlands produces loads of top players, particularly women's players, and a number of them are playing across Europe. some of them in Spain,
Mhm.
Greece, Hungary. What do you think personally Dutch clubs need to do to be more successful and to create the next standard of a league? It's a good standard already, but how can they keep homegrown players from going abroad, and how can they maybe be better in the EuroLeague um, to keep players like yourself in the country rather than going abroad?
Yeah, I completely agree. But the biggest thing why players are going abroad is because it's not professional. And it's hard to make a change in that. But I think for future plans and for the long term, it's an important goal because if you're getting the players in Holland and you can play EuroLeague with that clubs because the level is very high. So if your national team players are staying in, I'm staying at Polar Bears. Yeah, I think you can beat a lot of teams, but it's just about the money.
And it needs to be more professional. And do you
Exactly.
think there's any one thing that can be done to change that, or do you think it's going to take a lot of change?
Yeah, I think right now it needs multiple things. Eh, They are working on it, but it's a long road.
It's a difficult question, to be fair. I don't expect you to have all the answers, but anyway, we'll move away from your club career a little bit, and we'll talk about when you first broke onto the scene with the national team. So I believe, if all my information is correct, that in 2018 you made your senior appearance. I know you played for the juniors before
Yeah,
in a 19-5 victory over France, and
yeah,
I know you're quite humble, but you did score 6 goals
yeah,
in that game. Now, when most players make their debut for club, country, they focus on, okay, especially as a young player, okay, maybe sit out on the wing, defend well, don't make any mistakes. And you basically on your debut came in and put six away, basically the player of the match. Um, did that surprise you when you did that? Or did you know that you were capable of that? And when you actually did it, you were like, well, actually, it's not actually a big deal.
at that moment, no, I did not. But I was just going with the flow, and I knew from before, okay, my main focus point will be defense. And then I think a team like France is a good team to start with because it's not like Spain, Hungary, etc., etc. And in attack, I was just, I'll try, and it worked out pretty well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, you could say that. I find it remarkable that you've started the sentence by saying I was focusing on defence, and then you ended up scoring six in a game. Um, End product for most players is the hardest thing. Putting the ball in the net, and some really top players spend years of their career trying to perfect that
yeah,
uh, and to become clinical in front of goal. And you've demonstrated, from the start, but also subsequently, that you are really, really clinical in front of goal, and you make it look so easy. Um, does that make it harder for you to improve as a player when you've essentially perfected a really, really significant part of the game at such a young age?
no. When you're asking me what is the most fun part of the game for me, yeah, I like attacking. I like shooting for sure. But in the end, for me, it's very clear that if I'm scoring four goals, but also four goals in defense are because of me, it's 0-0. So I can say, oh, I'm the top scorer. I was the MVP of the game. But okay, and defense. So in the beginning, when I was starting with the national team, it's true that the scoring part was going very well. But after some weeks, I heard from my coaches, okay, that's nice. And now focus on defense because you have to make a lot of steps there. And I totally agreed. So for me, it will always be the most fun, exciting part to be better than my direct opponent and the goalie. I like that type of game. But I will not be satisfied if it's only the scoring part, and in defense I'm making mistakes or I'm not helping the team.
Just to summarise, you would say that that's a part of your game that you're focusing on most at the moment. Is that fair, or is it still equal? Do you still feel you can get better in attack? I mean, that's pretty scary.
Pretty
You know, if you
scary.
can get better than, yeah, it is for certainly for the goalkeepers. I mean,
Yeah, I think I can.
cool. Let's go to 2019 then, the run up to Tokyo. And it might not have seemed like the run up to Tokyo, and we'll talk about that later with the pressure of the Dutch national team and people getting picked or not. But the World Championships in Gwangju, it was a fairly mixed bag of results for the team. I think that's fair to say. Finished seventh. Maybe that's not so important. Um, you beat South Africa and New Zealand, teams you expected to beat. Um, Obviously, lost to USA, Spain, and Italy. But there was one game in that World Championships against
Hmm.
Greece in the seventh place playoff, and you won against Greece. And we'll come back to that game shortly because it's quite important when we're talking about the qualification tournament, because obviously you come up against Greece
Yes.
again. Did that victory in Gwangju, did that give you the confidence for the qualification tournament, or were you actually worried? Actually, we're a bit off the pace here.
If you're asking me, I would say that game is not very important for the game against Greece we played at a qualification tournament. When I'm looking at the team first, it was maybe not the players inside, maybe not the staff, but the way we play together. When you're looking at the qualification tournament, it's a whole different team. What the way we play together, the way we act together in and outside the water. And it was the same for myself because it was my first real tournament, if you're looking at Europeans or Worlds. And at the qualification tournament, it was a couple of months later. I developed myself. We trained with the team in Zeist a couple of months in turn. So I was in many ways stronger mentally, physically. So yeah, it was not that I was playing that game at the qualification tournament and I was thinking about the last, or I don't know if it was the last, in Guangzhou against Greece. No.
Do you think, as a team, though, Gwangju gave you gave the squad a need to maybe actually pick up the pace of training, or was it just another step in the process? It was one tournament. The team would probably change a little bit.
I think it was a tournament for our team with a lot of things going on. I think we were not the most stable team at the moment. And you could see it as a step in the process to the qualification tournament and in the end Olympics.
You spoke there about going for months at a time at Zeist. I understand that a few of the players from abroad were told that they would have to come
Yeah.
back in preparation for the Olympics, and some of them thought that was too much and weren't willing to do that. You know, obviously, some people don't understand that, but this is livelihoods for some people that are playing professional. What was that like? The training at Zeist, you know, every day. I've been there. It's a really nice campus next to the football pitches as well. It's really cool. How do you reflect on your time training there in preparation for the qualification tournament?
A little side note: the place around it is very beautiful. The swimming pool is. I know a few that are a little bit more beautiful. Um, but for me, it's fine. We train there full time. A lot of trainings, a lot of hard trainings. But I had a feeling that the more months we were together, of course, it's hard and physically, mentally, you're getting to your top and sometimes above. So it's tricky. It's a thin line. But in my head, in my feelings, I had a feeling that we were becoming more a team and we were getting ready for that game we had to play for a ticket. So that was for me very important because I don't like to train and don't have the feeling, okay, we are getting the next step as a team, as for myself. And during those months in turn, I think, okay, there's something happening here. So
Important that the team feels like they're going somewhere. Otherwise,
yeah.
it can be quite difficult to motivate. Let's talk about Trieste then in January 2020, the qualification tournament for the Olympic Games. Um, I mean, I guess we have to go straight to that semi-finals match, the really important match,
Mhm.
the 7-4 against Greece. Um, and that in a way was your final. If you won that game, you'd be going to the Olympics, and if you
Exactly.
lost, you wouldn't. And all that hard work in Zeist in that not so nice pool, that square pool that you that isn't so nice. How did you feel before that game, personally? Um, you know, the pressure on you for everything that you'd worked for. I actually have a quote here from an interview where you say the Olympics is what you're here for. You know, as a player, I'm paraphrasing that. They weren't your exact words, but this is it, and all in one game. That's really high pressure situation.
Yes. Yes. For me, I think it was the first game that I really showed my value. Um, and maybe from a young player to a player who can play, who can defend fine, who can attack fine, and just add value to the team. And before the game, I knew I could do it, but I was just telling myself, okay, focus on defense, and in attack, just look at the goal. It sounds very easy, but for me, just that one sentence in my head, that looking at the goal, my body position to the goal, it helps me a lot because I don't know why, but if I have a feeling, oh, they are getting higher on me because I'm a left-hander or whatever, I'm going a little bit back, and then the dangerous of your position of your whole shot is less.
So what you're talking about there, I guess, is a little bit of belief. You said to yourself, defend well and face the goal. And did you keep telling yourself that before the game, mid
Yeah,
game? You know, a lot of people that listen to the podcast, they're quite young athletes. You know, they've got national finals. Maybe they're even playing at European junior championships and stuff. You know, do you feel that you play differently, or is it important? Do you think to make sure that you play how you know, even in situations of high pressure where your body's telling you actually I need to do something different?
for me, but I also understand that for every player it's different. But for me, as an attacker, I think, yeah, for me, defense are agreements in your team. You can be creative. Yeah, you can feel where the ball is going. Where can I go? But in the end, it are agreements. It are rules, and you have to do it. And then the counter-attack part starts, and the attacking part. And that, for me, is trusting on myself, trusting in what I can do, and feel free. Go with flow. Actually, and when I see a gap in the goal or whether I see a gap in the field, just take it. Because if you're thinking too much, it's easier for the defense.
You said there that this competition, this qualifying tournament, was the first time that maybe your value had shone through. Um, that's maybe being a bit humble because you were really massive in qualifying for the Netherlands. Um, and I guess what that leads us on to is you've qualified for the Olympics, so the euphoria. You know, you've got that huge plane ticket on the pool
Yeah.
side, like they do. Um, I guess for you guys that were all preparing, it's now thinking about I need to get that ticket. I need to be on the plane to Tokyo. And we will talk about COVID a little bit, but not too much. But just after that tournament, what did you feel about your chances of making the team, given how important you were?
Um, for me, after that tournament, after that particular game we played, um, I think the most part starts with myself because the game against Greece I really felt faith in myself, confidence in myself. Um, and then for me in my head, there is a fundamental starting to build. And then, of course, the staff is deciding which 13 players are in, or 12 plus one, whatever. But the moment I start believing in myself and really saw myself doing what I thought in my mind I could do, yeah, then for me the selection part was less stressful because I thought, okay, I can do this. I think I can do more. And I was just training for that to be ready in the Olympics. And
Just to want to touch on that. You talk about faith and belief in
yeah,
yourself. It's I might be speaking out of place here, but it seems easier for someone that can score 6 or 7 or 6 on their debut to believe that they can do that at the top level. What would you say for people that you know centre forwards or players on the arc that you know in games they can't they don't always show up, but they have to have. Everyone says you have to believe in yourself and you have to have faith. What would be your message to those that haven't consistently shown that ability, but they are capable of it?
of course, it's true that when you're looking at the statistics, looking at MVPs of the game, it's probably 90% of the time it's the one that scored the most, and otherwise it's the goalie. So it's true that's more in the picture. But I think as a center forward, okay, probably I'm not going to score 5 goals, or the center back is really weak and the defense don't adapt or adjust to the game of their opponent. So I would tell yourself, okay, what is the thing I can do most for my team? And that is if they are staying high, staying in press, okay, now it's my time, now it's my job. I have to do everything I can. If they are going back in zone, just I'm like, okay, I did everything for my team. Now it's their job to finish it, and then you can be happy about your game because you can do more if there are 4 people around you.
That's a really good message. I think a big takeaway: if you can't score or you can't do all the things you visualize, at least in the game, think what can I do for the team. I really like that. Well, just one last thing before we talk about Tokyo itself, um, and just going back to the chances of making selection and stuff. Um, you spoke in an interview about almost burning out after being selected because of all your hard work. Before the qualification tournament, it was all about qualifying, and then suddenly you've got that. Did you notice maybe a dip in the intensity, or the opposite, where all the girls suddenly, even the girls that weren't selected for the qualifying tournament, suddenly they've got another opportunity to go to this fantastic tournament? Did you notice a step up in the intensity of the training?
Yeah, you were feeling that the Olympics were living. I don't know if you're saying it that way, but everybody in the team never been to the Olympics. Only one of our staff members, but all the players wanted to go if they are 28 or 18. So yeah, of course, the day of the selection and the weeks before there was some kind of tension, and everybody wants to prove themselves and be and shown to everybody, okay, I can do this, I can make the team. So I think it's logic. I don't think it's bad. Every player was setting a sharp mind, and I think the key is to have it to the date of the selection and to hold it until the start of the tournament of the Olympics.
You talked about tension there and the date of
Yeah.
selection. Um, so it's selection day. How did Arno tell each of you? Did he read it out, or did he have a one-on-one chat? Um, can you just give us a bit of insight, maybe? And obviously, you don't have to go into specifics with people, but just how you were told that you would be going to the Olympics.
Now you've been in the pool, so we have very nice showers. And there we always stand with each other, and then Arno has his little notebook, and he's just reading out the names, and with the players that are not selected, he will have a little chat of arguments because why. And
Yeah, I've seen his little book that he carries around. And so you're saying that he sat you down and he, as a group, he read the names out. Is that correct?
yeah, we were just standing, and then he's saying the names.
Talk about how you felt and obviously the positives, but as you were looking around and you realised that some of your teammates who had worked just as hard as you to qualify, what did you feel for them?
Yeah, it's hard because what you're saying, they worked as hard. But for me, it's a double feeling because, of course, the emotional part, and that's the first thing you're feeling, and giving everybody a hug. And some people are happy because they are going to the Olympics, but on the other side, there are people that worked as hard as you did but are not going. And on the other side, for me, I wanted to perform at the Olympics, and I want to play with the best team over there. Um, so if I, for me, I have a feeling I am going with the best team to the Olympics, yeah, then I think it's fine.
It's tough, but it's sport.
Yes.
But for you personally, what kind of feelings were you were you feeling? Who did you tell first in your family, for example, or
Yes, my parents and my boyfriend.
and were they proud? Obviously,
Yes.
were there any tears?
Tears. No, no
Yeah,
tears. Happiness.
no tears, no tears. Fine, fine. Okay, let's move on to Tokyo then, the main tournament. And just before you fly out and stuff, obviously you're training. Um, I've heard before that you're very very big on goal setting and achieving goals, obviously, but the goal setting process. When you had your 13 or I think 14 maybe with a reserve, um, sat down, maybe after you'd just been selected, and you talked about what you wanted to achieve in Tokyo. What did Arno say and the staff say, and did you as a group agree that would be a successful games? Maybe not even just where you placed or whatever, but just like the spirit of the team. What were your goals and expectations for Tokyo?
Yeah, we were discussing that. I think most of the time we have some wider goals, and then when the selection is clear, we are defining the goals because then you know which team gonna get to the tournament. And in the end, we sat down and agreed that we wanted to play our best game, and we wanted to play as a team, and we wanted to play good in defense and then going to attack. And every game is a new game, and we are starting fresh. Doesn't matter what the game before we had as a result, bad or positive, doesn't matter. So that was actually the main goal from day to day. We are working through the whole tournament. Yes, yeah, it are not expectations. Of course, you're going to the Olympics or you're going to the Europeans or the Worlds to get a medal for sure. But I think it's important to not only looking at the medal side, because you can say, okay, I want a medal, and then it's okay. And furthermore, how are you gonna get it? How are you gonna achieve that? Because that's something you can have grip on, you can work with. So for me, that's way more important than just saying to each other, "Oh yeah, I want a gold medal."
It's not always about the outcome that you base the success on. But let's talk about it then. And it was quite interesting there. You mentioned about forgetting the games, the game before or the game after, or just focusing in the moment. Um, Obviously, you came sixth in the end. The first game, the opening game against Australia, and obviously this is the first time that the Netherlands had appeared at the Olympics
Yeah.
for a while. The last time was a gold medal, so maybe a bit of expectation. But you lost that one. Did did that in any way overwhelm you or the squad? Thinking, Australia are a very good team. They've got some great players.
Yes.
Um, do you think that unsettled the squad a little bit, or was it just part and parcel?
No, I don't think so. But I do think that some things in the game we had to be more proactive with that. Parts on defense, but also parts that the one period we were very good, and then the next we just kind of lost it. It's too black and white to say it like this, but
Sure.
it are definitely points that after a game we sat down and said, okay, for the next game against Spain, we have to improve. We have to be more concentrated on these and these points.
And I mean, you did improve, and you beat Spain, who went on to be silver medalists. So the next game, I mean, you personally, I think it was six that you got against one of the best technically gifted teams in the world at the moment. Did that first game you said you need to be better. Was there something else? Forget tactics or technique or anything. Do you think there was a fire inside a lot of the girls having lost that first game that led into that next game, or do you just think one game you didn't play so well and the next day you improved?
I do think there was a mindset change, and maybe for a part of the team, I don't know. I can't talk for them, but maybe there was a feeling like, okay, we played the first game at the Olympics, and now we can just play because we know how it is. I don't know. I don't know. But I agree that the game against Spain was way better.
Obviously, you breezed through the next few, South Africa, and I mean Canada game was slightly more difficult, but I still think you're well worth the win. It's one of these scenarios, and we'll talk about it in a minute with the EuroLeague as well, where you're all level on points at the end of the group stage, but you guys obviously finish finished third,
Yeah,
which meant, sorry, that obviously you were then had to play Hungary,
yeah,
um, who are obviously a fantastic team. That's when the tournament really gets to the business end, and you lost, and it was a close game. Lost 14-11 to Hungary. Um, were you really disappointed with that game, or did you feel you did everything you could? Do you have any regrets about? I'm going to say you. I mean the team.
yes. I was very disappointed, and also the team, of course. But that's also because during the game, I had a feeling that we could do things better, and that the capabilities were in the team. So maybe it was not the time for us to beat Hungary, but always before, after, but most of all during the game, I want to have a feeling that I'm in control, and some if the opponent is scoring, that's because on that moment of our defense, their attack, they were seriously better or smarter. And then after the game, of course, I want to change it so we are smarter next time. But during that game, I want to play better and show them that we had them under control. And yeah, unfortunately, we did not had that enough because we lost.
They're a really difficult team to beat, Hungary. Um, you then obviously losing at the quarterfinals. It then meant you were in the fifth and sixth playoff, and again you'd face Australia. Now, last week on the pod, we talked to Denis Kameni, who spoke about when you play two games against a team in very quick succession within a week or so. Often the team that lost the first game um, come back and win the second. That obviously didn't happen here. Do you think that quarterfinal loss kind of the disappointment transmitted through to the Australia second game, or again is it not that simple?
It's not that simple. If you're asking me a yes or a no, I think maybe yes, it did. But when I'm looking back at Olympics, the most important game for us was the quarterfinals. So if you're looking at the next Worlds and the next Olympics in Paris, that are the moments that we have to be so ready and be so eager to, if it's Hungary or Russia, it doesn't matter, or even Spain. We have to be ready and concentrated and eager, and more. Sometimes in a game we can be too sweet, I think. And I think there has to be, in the team has to be a good balance between in control defense, but also like, if you want to screw me, I will do it back, but even harder. So don't even try it. That mentality, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
And for me, that's for the next years. It's definitely a goal for myself and for the team, so that other countries know who we are and don't play with us.
yeah. That's really interesting, and we would hope that playing in Europe in some of those, we've got a few Dutch players in the Hungarian league and stuff, that they will get that steel as well as the silk that you guys have got, and maybe change the perception that you're a bit of a soft touch. But we've spoken about the team there, and I haven't spoken about you personally at the Olympics, and this is uh, this is massive. It might not be for you, but it is for everyone else that watches the sport. Um, I think it's fair to say it was your tournament. It was your breakout tournament. Maybe people that haven't watched women's water polo, this was this was the showcase. I
Sure.
mean, I've got some. Yeah, it was a showcase, and you're obviously the top goal scorer. I've actually got a quote here from Adam Krikorian when he spoke to us about you, and I'm sure you've read this, but he said to us, "I had a feeling that she'd blow up this summer, as in last summer. I tried to warn my team about this a year ago, but I'm not sure if they listened." Attila Biro, obviously the head coach of the Hungarian national team, said she's no longer a talented prospect, but she's become the best left-hander this year. Now, before I do ask a question, I'm just going to read a few stats out, and I can see that you're maybe getting a bit
This is the most
embarrassed, but
awkward part for me, eh?
yeah, yeah, just take it all in. 28 goals in 7 games. Top goal scorer of the Tokyo Olympics. That's the most any female's ever scored at an Olympic Games. You're level with Danielle De Bruyne as the Dutch all-time goal scorer at the Olympic Games. You're only the second player to score more than 21 goals at the Olympic Games. The other is Maggie, who you had dinner with the other night. And you're only 2 goals off being featured in the top 5 all-time Olympic goal scorers. That's pretty impressive. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that's prolific finishing, and that raises eyebrows. And you had the highest shot to goal ratio. You made the All Star team. Surely there's some pride.
Yeah, of course. It's nice that you're working hard, um, and I'm trying to get better. Like every day, every tournament, I want to improve myself in multiple ways. Not only in the scoring part, of course, but just in the whole game, in communication, in everything, and that people are seeing it. It's, yeah, of course, it's not it's nice.
You actually got the most steals at the Olympics as well. Did you know that? No, you actually you talk about defense and attack, and you maybe need to work on your defence. You've got the most steals in the competition, so it can't be too bad. Let's just talk about the future of the Dutch national team. So obviously, some would say remarkably and completely unexpectedly got the gold in 2008. Didn't qualify for the next two, but won the Euros in 2018. Um, okay, you've come sixth in Tokyo. Surely anything but a medal now in Paris is probably a bit of an underwhelming, probably a bit of a failure. No,
A failure if we are not getting a medal there.
maybe that's harsh.
Mm,
Maybe that's really harsh, but I think that I can name 20, maybe 15, 20 players that are under the age of 25. Bridget in Olympiacos, obviously yourself, Marta in Sabadell, Maud is in America, as is Kitty Zelstra. Um, you've got so many players, a core group of players that are under the age of 20, 24, 25. Surely Paris has got to be, surely at the back of your mind, a medal, has got to be a little bit of an expectation.
Yeah, for me, if you're asking what's your goal for Paris, yes, it is.
You say that as
Absolutely.
if it shouldn't be for the others.
Oh, yeah. I think if you're asking them, they will say yes. 100%.
Okay, good.
Um,
I know you don't want to speak on behalf of anyone else.
no,
Um,
exactly.
Fine. Let's move away from the Olympics then. Um, let's talk about your transfer. So this was actually agreed. Lots of people think it was. Lots of people think Mataro saw you at the Olympics and thought, "Yeah, we just need to grab it." It was actually agreed before,
Yes.
a few months before in May. That's correct?
Yes. Yes.
You finished your degree then, and you agreed to join them. I guess the question we all wonder is why did you pick them? Was it Vivian who had a bit of an impact on you? Was she the agent? Was she did she entice you a little bit? Come and live out in sunny Catalonia with me, or was it Danny on the phone maybe that enticed you?
They're absolutely a part of it. But I just had some things in my mind that I was also talking about with my coaches back then. And I said, I want to have a good coach and a good team where with some players that have experience, like Annie, um, and where I can learn from. And wanted to play EuroLeague because I never did. I
Mhm.
wanted to play abroad, of course. So then I was just looking, and they reached out to me. And after a couple of conversations with my coaches, with Danny, I had a good feeling. So I decided to go.
I assume they weren't the only team that reached out to you.
No.
No, there are others. I won't ask. I won't ask. But
Thank you.
um, that's fine. You said about EuroLeague, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But look, that's all part of this season. On the whole, it has been successful, I would say, so far. Um, Personally, and for your club. I mean, you've scored 42 goals in the women's Spanish league. Only Judith Forca has got more. She's also a left-hander, so a bit of competition. Um, the first, I guess it was maybe your first game of the season, the Super Cup.
Yeah.
Um, that was nice to get some silverware fresh off the flight, straight in and
Yes.
win some silverware. The Copa del Reina a month or so ago, and the Copa Catalunya if you want to count it as well. So there's three titles there already. You've got 6 games to go left of the season, and you play Saturday on the 19th or 20th of March, I think it is.
Yeah.
Would winning the league this season top it all off as the perfect first season in Spain?
It's absolutely our goal. 100%. Yes.
You are a few points behind them though, and it will mean you have to beat them. You've played them quite a bit this season, I think it's fair to say,
Yeah.
in the league and in abroad. And I guess we'll talk about that when you played them in the EuroLeague. So you were obviously knocked out of the EuroLeague, and I was a little bit surprised. Um, Again, it was this annoying thing of three teams being level on points, but head to head meant that again you personally had felt the effect of it. You said that joining Mataro was important for you because they're in the EuroLeague. Is that a competition that you really want to win?
Yeah, for this season, of course, it's not an option, but for the future, yes, I do. Yeah.
How important is it, the competition for you? It's the best club competition probably in the world for women's water polo, well, and men's as well. So it does have quite a bit of significance.
Yes, absolutely. But for me, the biggest advantage of that competition is that you're in different in different kind of themes with internationals playing together, but you can play on a very high level. And I think it's important to play not as much because you have to rest, but playing as much international games as you can. And only the World League part and the part in the summer, I think it's too less for international players. So the EuroLeague is absolutely important.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just away from the EuroLeague and just general in Mataro, how are you enjoying everything in the Spanish lifestyle? I mean, their pool is absolutely beautiful. It's right next to the beach. They've got their nice little gym on the pool side. I mean, it's like a dream for so many people to go and play there, and you're getting to do it. How much are you enjoying it? Enjoying the experience?
Yeah, I like it there. I like the language. I like the culture. I like that it's kind of a small little town that reminds me of my hometown in the Netherlands, but that it's close to Barcelona, so you can go if you want some crowdiness, or how do you call it? So yeah, it's cozy here. That's what I
It's
like.
cozy. It's cozy. Good, good, good. I guess just one last question we have before we go into a few questions that we've got for you. Um, what can we expect, Simone Van de Kraats, going forward?
I'm not really that kind of person that is having expectations from others. I'm having more expectations for myself, higher expectations. Um, and the expectations I have for myself is that I'm getting better every time. So I hope I can do that, because, yeah, otherwise it's getting a little bit boring if I'm not
Sure,
getting better.
but by the sounds of it, you wanna very much stay focused on what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, but because for me that's way easier because I can look in 1 year or 2 years. Okay, I want to achieve this, but right now I'm here. So for that 8 steps in between, what do I need so I can do the first step first? Otherwise, it's everything is so big and so far away. I cannot touch that. So
Fine, it's a sensible answer. I was obviously I think a lot of listeners were hoping for something extravagant, but that's not really the kind of the person that you are. Um,
yeah, that you don't have to talk with a taxi. I think
Fine,
that
fine. Well, look, that's all for part one. We'll be back in part two with some questions.
perfect.
Okay, welcome back. This is part two, where we ask Simone the questions that you've sent in. Simone, we ask the same question to all our guests every week. Who would be in your dream seven? Who would be in your fantasy team of players, past or present?
I have to answer. Wow. For me, the hardest thing is I want to answer. I don't care about answering, but I'm not really that type of person that is. It's the same like you're asking someone who is your biggest fan or of your fangirling or best singer movie. I
You
really don't know.
you wouldn't even maybe suggest two or three players in each position, maybe. Goalkeeper.
Yeah, of course there are players that I like. Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to give a few players that? So when we spoke to Maddie, she put you in her team for
Yeah, I would
example.
do the
So
same. Yeah. That's
there we
not
are. But
because
there
you're
we are.
saying it right now.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
got
yeah.
the
We've got
sound
the
of
ball
it.
rolling. Yeah, we've got the ball rolling. So Maddie would be in your team. Go on. Who would be who'd be the keeper?
Uh, I think the goalie we have right now, and Laura Arts. Yes, I think so.
Okay, okay, good. Centre back, centre forward.
Center forward. Let me think. Maybe Rebecca
Yeah,
Parks.
that's a decent shout. Yeah,
Yeah. Micah
yeah.
Garcia. Sorry.
Judith Forker, or maybe on position one, or to your right, maybe, and you on position two.
Yes, everything is possible.
I'm being really mean. You've said you don't want a fangirl, and I keep forcing it.
Yeah, you're just putting names and I have to
You
choose.
have to, yeah. Basically, if you don't react positively to any of them, they'll take it personally when they hear it.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
But I mentioned a couple of names, so now it's fine, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. There wasn't quite seven, but fine. We'll leave it there. It's either that or it's a team of centre forwards. Um. Anyway, on the Instagram from Am Spurko, what was your favourite part of the Olympics?
Um, what was my favorite? That it's a big event. Um, and what I mean with that is that you have big tournaments, and in the end, why am I there? Because of the matches, and I want to perform there with my team for sure. But the nice thing about the Olympics that it's such a global event where it's true that there is an atmosphere that that winning is not the most important part, but participating, it's something like that. I don't agree with that completely because, yeah, I'm not gonna play there for a place, whatever. But I like the atmosphere there in the
Were
village.
you were you you speak about the atmosphere? Was there a lot of tension about maybe catching COVID?
Yeah, I was feeling that a lot of athletes were more alert, and I get that. We had the same thing with our doctor and medical staff because it is important. Because if you're getting it, you're getting put in an isolation cell, so that's not very nice. We saw the movie before; it was like a little prison, and you want to play. So it was a combination that everybody was quite, yeah, smart in getting distance, staying.
Nice. We've got two from on Instagram from Singing Go, and there's two. So the first one is: do people in your country recognise you in the streets or in your hometown? I went through your local newspaper in preparation for this interview, and there are an awful lot of articles about you. They are very proud of you. Do people ever come up and go, "Oh, Simone," obviously in Dutch, "Oh, Simone, you went to the Olympics," or you scored six on your debut against France, or
Yeah, if then it's in my hometown. But if you're getting one town further, is now. But I like it this way because most of the people there are living in my hometown. I know them, so it's not weird or something. It's just a little chit
yeah,
chat.
fair enough, fair enough. Going under the radar. The second part of that question is when did you realise water polo was a big thing for you?
Quite fast because I first started with competition swimming, and then I started with water polo. But after 5 years, I decided to quit with competition swimming because I found it too boring. Just swimming lanes and nothing was happening. There was no team there. There was nothing. I understand that for some athletes it's a nice sport and they love it, but for me, I missed a team sport. And in water polo, there is so much happening, and there are so many external and internal factors that are included in the game. And I like it because it's a game that never stops, and you can never stop improving if you're challenging
Yeah,
yourself.
and swimming's boring. Um, but yeah, okay. this is one. What's the best swimming pool you've ever played in?
Best swimming pool.
Not Zeist.
No, I will not mention that one. I think there are two, and they're both in Budapest. We played in the swimming pool of UVSA, and
Yeah,
in
Margaret Island.
yeah, and in the Duna Arena. And
Yeah,
there are two different pools. The one with more character, a little bit more compact,
yeah,
and the other one is just very big and a lot of technology, and was full of people. And I liked the both of them.
nice, good answer. Okay, maybe this one's unfair. If you could play for any club in Europe, who would it be?
Yeah, it's unfair. I don't know. It's also this is the period they are gonna evaluate and think about next season, and that's where I'm in right now. Um, and maybe the club I want to play for is yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe that is unfair. How about I change that to a league? Maybe the Hungarian
Mm.
league or
Right now, I'm very open minded. I like the Spanish league. It's very competitive. Um, I also have a good feeling about the Greek league. Hungarian league also has its benefits, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
it's fair enough. It's a difficult question, and obviously you're really committed to playing in Spain, and by the sounds of it, you love it there. So yeah, really harsh. One thing we didn't really touch on in the first part was Simone outside of water polo, and if it's
Yeah.
possible to have a life outside of all the training and stuff. But what do you get up to in your free time, and what do you get up to relax away from the swimming pool?
For me, besides the swimming pool, there are a couple of things that I like also to get my mind on different subjects, and that is I like studying. I like developing myself in that way and keeping my brain active. So that's one thing I do and I like to do. And the other things, it's just cooking, baking, getting into my bath, that kind of things I like a lot. Drinking latte macchiato, I really
Ah,
love.
nice. Drinking, yeah, coffee. Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
yeah. You said you like studying. What's your area of study?
Um, it's management and finance and control.
And you said about baking there. Maddie said that she likes to bake, and she said she's really good at making cookies.
Cookies.
So
Yeah.
what's your thing?
Maybe an apple pie. It's
Ah,
very Dutch.
yeah, okay. I got a question here. How do you prepare for a match? Do you have a pre-match ritual? Anything you do, or the night before, or something regular you do?
Now, I did say to myself before I started the national team journey, um, I don't want to be that athlete that is 1 hour before a game has to eat a banana or jump 5 times before the warm up or something like that. But that's also a kind of autistic thing. I know that. Um, but the things that I do is getting back to okay, what's my job in this game, and how I'm gonna do that, visualizing, etc. And on the other side, going the most relaxed and concentrated I can be, going in that mindset to the game, so I can just play without thinking too much. You
That
know,
makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. What's the toughest aspect of being an elite international athlete?
it needs dedication, and it's not always nice. There are some very good things about being an international athlete, but it's also traveling a lot, being on the road, not with your family, not with your friends, etc. It has to fit you if you want to be in this life, and I like it. I like that it's that there is happening things in my life, and not that it's every time like working 9 to 5. For me, it's right now it doesn't fit.
Okay, all right. I've got a feeling you're not going to answer this one, but
Okay, another
it
one.
is another one of these. Who is the dot dot dot? Who's the best coach you've ever played under?
Yeah, it's a hard one, eh?
You can maybe if you've got only 3 or 4 coaches you've ever had, maybe you can mention them all and give them a little bit of a tribute if you don't want to offend any of them.
Yeah, but it's true that every coach, it's the same as like a manager in a company. The manager in a company has its good things and its bad things, and it's normal because we're all humans. So if I'm mentioning a name to you, it will probably be on a specific part,
Yeah,
because that's just how we work. Everybody has. But I played a long time under Arno. Most of my career, Eva, you know
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah. The
That's the
assistant.
current head coach.
Yeah, now the head coach. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So that are the coaches I played for,
yeah.
maybe 5, 6 years.
Okay, okay. We've got one last one, and it does amaze me asking this because you are so young and you've got so much left of your career. But do you have any advice to young water polo players who want to start a career in the sport?
The first thing, go for it, 100%. Um, and just ask yourself the question: okay, what can, what is something I'm good in the field? Um, what can I improve? How do I want to do this? Who can help me? Just make it concrete. I think you say it that way. Um, so think big, but then make it practical. And yeah, just work it out.
Okay, great advice. Simone, thank you very much for joining us. You've been very honest and very fascinating.
Thank you.
I've really, really enjoyed that chat with Simone. She's really straight, she's really honest, and you can see how focused she is. And to be honest, she's only getting started. She's going to be a really, really fantastic player, and I can't wait to see her develop. What a top player. Anyway, thank you for joining us this week. Make sure you make full use of our discount code podcast10. So head over to Waterpolo, and if you can ever leave us a like, a subscribe, or a review, you can take the time out. It's massively appreciated. See you next week.